I came here tonight, and I didn't know what to expect.
Когда я вышел этим вечером на этот ринг,
I seen a lot of people hate me, and I didn't know what to feel about that, so I guess I didn't like you much then either.
я думал, что я не любил их тоже.
During this fight, I seen a lot of changing.
В течение всего этого боя я понял, что многое изменилось.
The way you felt about me, and the way I felt about you.
И я почувствовал, что вы тоже изменились.
In here, there were two guys killing each other, but I guess that's better than 20 million.
Но я думаю, что это лучше, чем даже 20 миллионов долларов.
So what I'm trying to say is that if I can change,
Я думаю, что каждый тоже изменился.
then you can change.
Вы можете измениться.
Everybody can change.
Каждый может измениться.
Hi, Awesome Joe here. Just letting you guys know that I'm still having several complications with having to do my critic background, but in the meantime, just go ahead and continue to bear with me here, and while I continue to watch these amazing flicks and reviewing them for you guys as to what I think, the good, the bad, the incredible, the terrible, but otherwise, let's go ahead and start reviewing since the new movie Creed 2 was just released about a week or so ago. I haven't had the available time to review and watch these movies, but for right now I'm going to be watching Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and Rocky 4, so that way we can go ahead and stay in the mindset as to this whole entire world and how Rocky grew from being a street bum into the all-time fighting champ Rocky. And let's just have an amazing time with watching these amazing movies, and let's start off with Rocky. Alright, so I went ahead and finished watching Rocky. I just rewinded it back to the part here so that way I can have a very similar background to what I usually work with here. This movie was first released back into the December 3rd, 1976. Now, obviously, I'm not that old enough to have gone to watch this movie in theaters. Now, if there was probably a re-release of the film into theaters, I'd be more than happy to go out and watch this movie, because this is an amazing flick. You know, we have different parts of this movie to develop more of this Rocky character, building him up into becoming into more depth, into more visualizing to see what this character's been through, so on and so forth. But Rocky alone is one of the all-tops, favoriteest, best Rocky film of all time. You know, we've got some, like I said, several different ones that could beat this one, but all in all, I think that this one alone is very satisfactory. If you guys have a different opinion, comment, complaint, if you guys want to go ahead and leave a comment in the section at the bottom, let's have an awesome conversation regarding towards Rocky or any of the Rocky films in general. Let me know what you guys think about Rocky or what your favorite Rocky movie is. But otherwise, this movie was directed by John G. Avildsen, and of course we have Sylvester Stallone in this, playing the all-time star Rocky, and we have his love interest in the film, Talia Shire, along with Burt Young, Carl Weathers, who plays Creed in this movie, Apollo Creed. He goes against at the ending of this movie, and we have Burgess Meredith. And I find this movie to be incredibly awesome. I mean, I had a lot of fun watching it through and through. Although, when I first watched this a little while back, I forgot how the movie started, and I forgot that he was like doing some fighting, you know, underground, you know, things like that. And he's just living his life to the very fullest, to do whatever he can possible to survive and to live his life in the way that he is trying to intend to. And he falls in love with Talia Shire's character, Adrian, and you know, and it was sad to hear that she passed away some time ago, about I think a little over a decade ago. And of course we got Burt Young, who also did pass away recently as well. Carl Weathers, I believe he's still around, but sadly to say, spoiler alert for later on within the film. But I really did have a lot of fun with this movie. It's so great. It's so interesting, and having it to be this old, back in '76. I think that's about a little over 40 years now, 42, 43 years now, and I find it very fascinating to see such an incredible film doing such an incredible job. Having to be so successful and still very popular to this day, and living the franchise by releasing the new Creed 2 film, which is the 8th film within this franchise. And I just find it to be very, very, very interesting. I'm just very proud of this franchise to being such a great success. And I love the fact that how the way it begins is Apollo Creed, he's looking for something that to help him build up his game, something to say, hey, you know what, I am still the world best fighting champion in the world, and I want to make things interesting, which is bringing in somebody out from the streets, and he chooses Rocky Balboa to come in and fight against this American champ. And I think that the way that these two clash against each other is just so epic. It's just so amazing. I had a lot of fun with this movie. And I believe that this movie is so great, I gave it a 90%. Why? Well, because there's several scenes within the film that kind of make me question. Like, say, for example, when Rocky tries to go on a date with Adrian, and she doesn't want to go. I understand she's very shy, but it just makes it feel uncomfortable. It's like thinking, okay, nowadays if a woman says no, that means no, she's not interested. But this one is like they continue to push and push and push until she says yes. And then when he invites her back to his place, and then when he tries not to make her leave, I'm like, that's all a little bit too creepy for me. And it's like, yes, I understand this came back in '76. Things were different back then. But now today, those type of things are very illegal and very creepy. So I don't know. I wasn't very much into that part. It kind of really made me feel weird about the film. But all in all, I find the movie to be just so great and amazing. I don't really find this movie to have any complications of saying that it's a terrible film. There's nothing bad about this movie other than the fact of being just so amazing. But otherwise, 90% for Rocky. What do you guys think? Give me your percentage. Give me your thoughts. Comment in the section at the bottom. Let's have an awesome conversation with Rocky. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and jump on to the next film here, you guys. That is the continuation to the Rocky franchise, Rocky 2. Hi, Awesome Joe here again, just letting you guys know I just finished watching Rocky 2, and this takes place immediately after the first movie, even though this movie was first released back in 1979, 3 years made after the first film, and I love this one. Don't get me wrong, I love the first one, but the second one is even more amazing. It's one of those where the sequel is better than the first movie, and at the ending of the first film, these two, they clash against each other, and Apollo Creed doesn't even know what hit him, and he just notices that he is somewhat greater than him, that they are both equally leveled, strong boxers clashing up against each other, and it's very undecided whether or not if even though Apollo Creed did win the divided decision of this fight, it still came to where he was not satisfied. He wanted to beat Rocky, but he did not beat Rocky. Even though he won the match, he did not beat him, and now he wants a rematch. And the way that Rocky is going through life after his first fight, he puts himself on retirement. He marries his girlfriend Adrian, becoming his wife. Then she gets pregnant. He has his son, and throughout life he's trying to live life to the very fullest after that. Who is he after being noticed? Is he going to continue on being climbing to becoming more than what he was in the first film, or is he going to stay where he's at and continue to fall back to where he was from the very beginning? like at first, yes, you get paid a lot after having to do your first match, and he uses all that money up to spoil his wife, to spoil his brother-in-law, to make a home, have an expensive car, expensive clothes. But the thing is that after having to fight anymore, he does these commercials that he's very terrible at. He doesn't know how to read, and he can't find any work other than working at a meat shop, which he's in some cases satisfied with. But they cannot continue to hold him, so now he's left out on the streets trying to figure out what he's gonna do with his life. And the only thing that he can find that's very suitable for him is having to going back to fighting. And so that's what brings Apollo Creed and Rocky Balboa clashing right back to each other with the rematch to seeing who is the greater fighter. And I love that story persona so incredibly well. It's so great. I love it. It makes the movie much more interesting, and I find that the movie is much more greater to a very maximum limit, even plus more than that. And the one thing I noticed come on, who can forget about the Rocky montage? Him running and running up the stairs, jumping up and down. I mean, that's an iconic and memorable and favorable moment of the scene, favorite scene of all time. And I remember in the first movie, you just see him. He's running for the first time up those stairs. He can barely do it. He's so tired. He's not built up enough to fulfill that exercise by going up those stairs. And so the more he continues to train, he runs up those stairs like it's nothing. And he's pumped. He's ready to go. He's ready to fight. And in this one, it's the same type of montage compared to the first one. But the only thing that was holding him back was his new wife, Adrian, because she doesn't want to see him get hurt. She doesn't want to see him get killed or blinded or whatnot. Because after the first fight, his eyes got really closed up. He can barely see. So she tries to protect him throughout the film. And Rocky, he feels very held down, not in a bad way. He understands that his wife is trying to protect him. He's doing it for his wife. But around the end, she gives him that permission, telling him, hey, this is your passion. This is what you want. Do it don't just do it for your family, but do it for yourself too. Be who you're meant to be. And I love that. I love it so much. And I love how these two fight against each other again in this one. This fight is much more interesting compared to the first film. And at the end, of course, spoiler alert, he wins this one. Rocky Balboa wins this one. He's proven to be the best fighter in boxing and world champion. And the first film, I gave it a 90%. And for me, I love this movie enough to giving it a 92%. Great film. Had a lot of fun. What did you guys think? Leave a comment in the section at the bottom. Let's have an awesome conversation regarding towards either Rocky 2 or any of the Rocky films in general. So, right now I'm going to go ahead and pop in Rocky 3. Hi again, Awesome Joe here. Just letting you guys know I just finished watching Rocky 3. And every Rocky film continues to impress me every single time I watch them. And it's just so amazing having to watch this incredible character being developed through each and every single film when we watch him build himself into becoming more than what he started to be, into becoming even something better and greater. Of course, this movie is starring Sylvester Stallone, and it's also directed by Sylvester Stallone. We also got the returning cast of everyone coming back, of Talia Shire. We got Burt Young, along with Carl Weathers, Burgess Meredith, and we have introducing the opponents this time, which is Mr. T playing Clubber Lang. And then we also got this really funny, pretty interesting and entertaining scene in the movie at the beginning of the film with Rocky versus Hulk Hogan himself, but in the movie he's known as Thunder Lips. And I just found it to be very, very entertaining and interesting to watch. It was a great part of the film, and I always found it to be very, very, very interesting, very unique, and it just brought some a great part of the movie into becoming such a great film. But if you were to ask me, I admired Carl Weathers' Apollo Creed being the opponent to the first two films, that it was kind of difficult having to accept Mr. T's Clubber Lang being this next opponent, being this next fighter that's going to take Rocky down. And of course, yes, he does within one of the first rounds at the beginning, right in the middle of the film, but that's only because Rocky, after the first film, after having his success into winning against Apollo Creed, he has become very successful within himself and within his life. He's begun to doing commercials and winning all these different types of fights, but that's only because his coach Mickey has been putting him through fake planned fights. These opponents, they are fighters trying to fight their way into winning the championship, but they're not they're not professionals. They're only there to just to get paid to fight Rocky, to let Rocky win, and that puts Rocky in a more comfortable and it makes him very soft position in his life. And once he finds out that truth, it puts him in a very difficult position as to not having complete faith in himself, knowing that if he can still do it or not, and which puts him in that spot of losing faith within himself, but also losing his coach Mickey, passing away during the first match against Mr. T. And that he gets lost within himself. He doesn't know how to build himself back up, which brings back Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, into this to train him, to show him the eye of the tiger, and show him the different better ways that he's not very well aware of, in ways that he can defeat Clubber Lang, Mr. T's character. And I love that. I love that type of story, where you rise and then you fall and then you rise again in a different pattern. I really do admire that, and that's what really makes me to see this movie being a really great film to watch. Every Rocky film has been very interesting and impressive through and through. I never really am disappointed with any of these films, even though that there are some that seem very disappointing. But for me, I find them to be very entertaining and very uplifting and encouraging. And so since I admired this movie very much, I didn't find it to be very much incredible as the first two films. So I gave this movie an 86%. The first Rocky movie I gave a 90%, then the second I gave it a 92%, and we got a little bit of a downfall, giving it an 86%, which I am completely okay with that percentage. Like I said, I don't hate it. I love it more. But it's just, it's not what I would call my perfect Rocky film, even though I love the storyline. I love and how his character is being developed through the film from beginning to end. It's just where he regains himself to becoming someone who knows himself again, to see himself being something more than what he already knows. And so I really do love that. So that's my review for Rocky 3. Once again, what do you guys think? Leave your percentage and what you guys think of your own personal opinions about this film in the comment section in the bottom. Let's have an awesome conversation regarding towards this film. But otherwise, let's go ahead and pop in the next film of this Rocky franchise, Rocky 4. Hi, Awesome Joe here again, just letting you guys know that I went ahead and finished Rocky 4. And you guys are going to hate me for saying this, but actually, and for a fact, that Rocky 4 is not one of my favorite Rocky films. I think that it is probably the least favorite of mine. And I know that Rocky 4 is probably the most favorite for everybody, but for me, I'd have to say, in my opinion, in my perspective, I'd have to say Rocky 4 just didn't really capture me as well as it did for many audiences and fans and critics. But we do have Sylvester Stallone returning back as not only just the star, but the writer and the director of this film. It was first released back in 1985, and we got the returning cast of Talia Shire, Burt Young, we got Carl Weathers coming back, and we got Tony Burton and Sylvia Mills, along with newcomers Dolph Lundgren, who is the very challenging and very strong and mighty component to the Rocky franchise, Drago. And then we also have Bridget Nielsen as his wife for this movie. And oh my god. Don't get me wrong, I love Rocky 4. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, if I had to pick them of being what's the best to the least, Rocky 4 would be somewhere down in the bottom. Because, okay, let's say, for example, at the beginning of the film, okay, I love on how every single part of the beginning of each Rocky film, we get a little bit of a scene from the ending of the last film, just to give us some touch bases as to how everything happened in the last film and now what we're going to be experiencing in this film. And I love the relationship, the friendship that there is between Rocky and Apollo Creed. I think that is, you know, some great broship there. One of my very favorites. And it's just... that robot, I'm sorry, that robot for Polly's birthday, that really just throws me off. It's just, I feel like, you know, if you were to watch the first Rocky movie and you get to see the type of person that he is. He's not going through depression. He's not going through desperation. He's missing something within himself. He's trying to find himself, find something that keeps him alive, because he has the heart of a fighter, but he's trying to, you know, develop that, make it grow into something bigger and greater. And I feel like here in Rocky 4, he's achieved all that, but doesn't know where to go within the movie. You know, pretty much what this all is just very much a vengeance film, because yes, we got Carl Weathers, who plays Apollo Creed, who gets killed in this film by Drago, Dolph Lundgren's character, and Rocky goes in and goes and challenges against him to avenge his friend's death. So that's pretty much all this is. And, you know, this all takes place in Russia during Christmas time, which is fine with me. I don't really have a problem with that. I really do love the story aspect on how, you know, both sides, east side of the world and west side of the world, are colliding together, you know, fighting against one another. And within this fight, it develops a change within not just only the people of both countries, but the entire world. And I really do admire that very much. I really do respect that whole idea and persona of the film. But otherwise, I look to the film as not one of my very favorites, like I said again, and I hope I don't disappoint anybody. But if I do, if you have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, please leave a comment in the section in the bottom, and let's have an awesome conversation regarding towards Rocky 4. But otherwise, my ratings for Rocky 4 would have to be around at an 84%. It's still a great percentage. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I love the film, but I just have several issues with it. But otherwise, I had a really great time with having to watch these first 4 Rocky films. I hope that you guys are watching them too and had a great time as much as I did. But otherwise, I'm going to be doing the Rocky saga, the Rocky franchise review part 2 very soon here, along with including the newly released Creed 2 along to go with that. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, I'm Awesome Joe. Thank you guys so much for taking in the time of your day to watching my movie reviews. You guys are such a huge inspiration to me to doing what I do personally during my personal hobbies. I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And as always, stay awesome. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.